Hi, my name is Kevin Fernandez, and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today, we're going to count down my top 10 favorite board games that specifically help out people with a little mental disorder called Aspergers Syndrome. Now, you may be asking, Kevin, what is Aspergers Syndrome? Well, I have a little piece of paper right here that explains exactly what it is. And I'm not going to read like the whole thing. It's pretty long. I'm just going to get some bullet points. That way we can get down to the games. So Asperger's Syndrome is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by significant difficulties in social interaction and nonverbal communication, along with restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior and interests. It is an autism spectrum disorder, but differs from other ASDs by relatively unimpaired language and intelligence. There are about 18 million people with Asperger's, and unfortunately only about 20% ever get like gainfully employed, so get a job. Some well-known people who have Asperger's are Elon Musk, Dan Aykroyd, and Anthony Hopkins. Also, it was rumored that the late Robin Williams also had it too. It also hinders in executive function, which is a set of mental skills that include working memory and flexible thinking, as well as self-control. In other words, if there's somebody you knew from like when you were a kid, or if you were that, who couldn't keep their hands to themselves or sit still or kind of had twitchy, there's might a chance you might have had Asperger's. As you guys, some of you guys may have known, but Jordan and I recently said that we have Asperger's, and it's a bit of a struggle, but board gaming has really helped me and Jordan a lot in a lot of different situations. So I thought, if you guys know anybody who has Asperger's, or if you have it yourself, you should really check out. You'd probably want to know some of these games. Now, there's a lot of games that can help this, but this is just 10 that I kind of enjoy to play myself. So, without further ado, let's count down. Okay, so my number 10 is a game called Stuffed Fables, and it's by Plaid Hat Games. Now, I picked this one because it has, because one of the struggles that people with Asperger's have is verbal communication. Stuffed Fables is not only a cooperative game, but it is a role-playing game. So in order to progress through something, you have to make sure you complete each level. And in order to complete each level, you have to be in constant communication with your partners, or at least that's how I play this game. You have to make sure to tell people, hey, I'll take this character. I'm this character. I'll go over here. I'm really good with like power or speed or defense. And it says you need like that specific die, so I'll go over there and I'll do that. You go over there and you do that. A lot of people with Asperger's have a hard time communicating verbally. It's very hard. This really helps them out. I also want to point out that I do have a how to play video on Stuffed Fables, so and to top it off, before I say I'm going to leave a link up here and down, I'm going to leave a link up here. I want to say the major thing about this, I picked this one is because I'm trying to pick games for all ages. So whether you are a parent with a child who has Asperger's, or you are an adult with Asperger's, you can really enjoy these games with everybody. These are for all ages. I know Stuffed Fables kind of looks a little childish, but it is a really fun game. Check it out. Number 10, Stuffed Fables. Okay, my number 9 is Hanabi, and it is because it has a little bit of non-verbal communication with your partners. This is another team game where you're all trying to set off a fireworks display, but you can't. But the catch is you have a hand of cards and you're showing it all to your opponents, and they're trying to your partners, not your opponents, and they're trying to tell you what you have so you can set off that fireworks so that they can set off their fireworks and so on and so forth. And you have to kind of say it non-verbally, because the only thing you can say verbally is what color it is, what number it is. That's it. Everything else you have to kind of get with like some gestures. You have to get like with certain signals and stuff like that. It's a very good way of doing that. There's a lot of other games on this list that has non-verbal communication, but that is something that I felt like this one really deserves. So my number 9, non-verbal communication, Hanabi. Okay, number 8 is the game Happy Salmon. I love Happy Salmon. It is probably one of my favorite party games to play. But it has a very huge social interaction. A lot of people with Asperger's prefer to just sit in a corner, keep to themselves. It's not sad. It's just how our brains function. Happy Salmon is a game where you have a deck of cards and you're trying to get through it by using different hand gestures. Also, good nonverbal communication right there too. So, like I said, a lot of these games will cross over. So you have cards like, bump it, bump it, bump it, high five, high five, high five, and of course, Happy Salmon, where you just kind of do that. And you got to kind of go. It's really fun. When I was little, I really hated it. I hated giving people high five. I hate giving people a fist bump. Half the time, and I still struggle with that because I don't know what. Like half the time, I'll just sit there and I'll be like that, and I'll kind of do that awkward thing where someone's giving me a fist bump, and then I'll grab it and I'll just start shaking it. I believe they did this in a movie, but I can't remember which movie. But yeah, they'll give me, and then they'll give me a handshake, and I'll do the fist bump, and then they're gonna go in for the fist bump, and I'm doing a handshake, and then we're just gonna end like this. But Happy Salmon, great social interaction. Unfortunately, it's a party game, and Jordan and I are still trying to figure out how we're going to feature party games on this channel, but we will at some point. So, number 8, Happy Salmon. Okay, number 7 is code names, and specifically because code names has to deal with patterns. Also, a little bit of just like small nidbit clues. This is mostly from being the person giving the clues, not from the other players. One of the things that a lot of people with Asperger's struggle with is looking at patterns on like a grid or something like that. So for example, you could show a square with like all these different colored things, and then you could say, hey, now, follow this and do that on this piece of paper or on this game. And you will get it exactly wrong. And most people with Asperger's will get it wrong because they can't tell, because they have a hard time determining symbols and pictures and stuff. It's really hard. Most of the time they'll just memorize it and then kind of fake it through. I did that a lot. I couldn't tell the difference between patterns, so I just memorized it and then I did the right thing, and then I just did the right thing all the time. I never actually learned anything. But now I can do it pretty well. Codenames, I still kind of struggle looking at the grid of where the correct ones are. Half the time, in fact, I'll tell this story. It was Christmas. My dad got this game for, I believe it was my brother's girlfriend, and we all decided to play it. It had English, but it also had Spanish. We were playing that, and I was going to be the clue giver. I wanted to be the clue giver because, I thought I'd try. I looked at that. I had no clue what was what. So I kept on telling everybody what the opponent's stuff was, and so our opponents won because I couldn't tell. We were blue, and I couldn't tell which ones on the board were blue and which ones on the board were red. So I kept on giving the red location to the blue players all the time. And I'm like, okay. And every time I thought I had it, and I'm like, okay, so this one's this one. I didn't get it. To top it off, we put the board upside down. So it was an extra struggle for me. And I want to point this out. This isn't a boo-hoo, feel sorry for me kind of video. I'm just saying this is from my experience as someone with Asperger's. So, you know, we're just going to hold on to that for a bit. You know, there are other games with patterns and stuff like that that I could pick, but Codenames is definitely one of my favorites, and it definitely helped me with my Asperger's. So my number 7, Codename. All right, so number 6 is the Sheriff of Nottingham. Sheriff of Nottingham is a bluffing game, and anybody who's played poker would know in order to successfully pull off a good bluff, you have to have almost constant eye contact with your opponents, making sure that you don't blink, that you don't, look away, because then they're going to go, oh my gosh, something's up, I'm all in, and then before you know it, you're broke, kicked out of Vegas, and trying to hitchhike some way home, but you don't know how. Sheriff of Nottingham is a bluffing game, but there's no money involved. It's a game where you take goods that you're trying to sneak into Nottingham. You stick it in this little bag, and you say, well, I have 2 chickens. But you might sneak in some contraband, so you're lying technically, but if it's a rooster, then technically you also are not lying, but whatever. You have to have eye contact with whoever's the sheriff. And for me, and especially for Jordan, we can't have eye contact almost at all. Jordan she's quicker. We both have our time limits, and Jordan's time limit is quicker than mine. Thanks to my improv practice, and also playing Sheriff of Nottingham, because it was like one of my favorite games to play. It still is one of my favorite games to play. But thanks to that game, I managed to conquer. I'm able to have eye contact with somebody longer. Unfortunately, one of the things is, and I'll talk about this in more detail in one of the games further down the list, but actually it's the next game, but leadership also. Someone in authority. When I'm having eye contact with someone I know is in authority, I can't look at them for more than like 10 minutes. I give them 10 minutes of eye contact. If they're not looking at me and the 10 minutes are up, I'm looking away. And I'm like, what? Huh? So, Sheriff of Nottingham is for eye contact. That is number 6. Okay, number 5 is the game Forbidden Desert. Now, this is one that I think that all my family loves. It's a team game that everybody loves. And the major reason is because of teamwork, specifically because there's a leader at some point, someone who's taking charge and saying, okay, you go, you try to find this piece, you go, you get rid of that sand, you flip up some tiles, we need to find this piece. A lot of people with Asperger's, like I said, have a hard time with people in authority. They want to either just say, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir. Or ma'am, yes, whatever you say, yes, whatever you say. We're yes men because we don't want to get into trouble. We don't want to get into trouble. We don't want to cause trouble. We want to keep our heads down, and we want to keep moving forward and get this over with as soon as possible because we're also in a social interaction. Forbidden Desert really brings out that whole aspect that you need to work together with somebody, and you need to be in communication with people. There's a lot of things that I covered previously that Forbidden Desert does cover for this. It's a great game. I do have a how to play video on it, so like I said, if you know anybody who has Asperger's, or if you do, check out the how to play video, and you can, and you'll try it with your friends. It'll be really fun, I promise. But you have to kind of assemble this flying machine to get out of the desert. And then I believe you also have to find an ancient landing pad, too. And you have to, have that there and then get away. But, Jordan and I have played a lot of games, with cooperative games, and almost always one of us starts a screaming contest with somebody because somebody made a suggestion of what we should do. That's our Asperger's. Plain and simple. Our Aspergers are telling us in our brains that that person is trying to sabotage us to make us lose. But we never say, wait a minute, this is a cooperative game. If we lose, they lose. Duh. But, you know, it's hard. So, number 5, Forbidden Desert. Okay, number 4 is the game Rival Restaurants. I love this game. It is a really fast-paced, really great game. It's a fast-paced food game. It's really fun, really great. But one thing that people with Asperger's struggle with, and, you know, this is, you know, if you don't have Asperger's and you struggle with a lot of this stuff, I'm not saying, well, you have Asperger's. I'm just saying this is what a lot of people with Asperger's will struggle. This is some of the symptoms that they show. But one of the things is, Asperger people are really good at puzzle solving. They're really good at solving problems, looking at things from different angles, making sure they have everything, because one of the people who has Asperger's is Elon Musk. So, problem solving, very good. But here's the thing. Some people with Asperger's, not everybody, struggle with this sort of thing. If you put someone, say, hey, solve this puzzle, most likely they'll be able to solve it within a good amount of time. If someone brings out a timer, like, you know, an hourglass or, you know, or something smaller, and say, okay, now you have to finish it within an hour. You have an hour, but because you're timed, your brain is saying you're screwed, you're in trouble, you're timed, and you know you feel pressured to do something. And so obviously that thing that you know you're good at, you're terrible at it because that pressure is getting to you. Rival Restaurants puts that pressure on, but to top it off, it puts that pressure on in a more fun environment, so you don't feel the time pressure that you would normally. You can get the ingredients you need and complete the recipe that you need to complete within a certain amount of time. You don't even think about the clock. In fact, half the time when Jordan is the one who struggles with this the most. I've had some moments, I'm not going to lie. I have some moments, but Jordan really struggles when it comes to timing. When we play this game, Jordan just doesn't feel that pressure. It seems like she doesn't feel that pressure at all. I don't know if she actually does, or if, you know, if she's feeling any pressure, or if she's just faking it to, you know, make sure we're not going, oh my gosh, sweetie, are you okay? But no, she doesn't seem like she feels the pressure at all. Mostly because she's not thinking about the time. She's thinking about, okay, I need cheese, I need carrots, I need what else do I need? I need, you know, I need fish. I need these things. That's what she's focusing on. She's not focusing on, oh my gosh, I need this, 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 and this, and I only have 1 more minute to go. I'm dead. This is over. Oh my gosh. But it can really take this stress off, so when something more important where you're going to have a time limit comes along, you can handle it better. You understand how to take your time. Which is funny because that's whenever you have a time limit, that's always when somebody says, take your time, you're okay, you're fine, whatever, just take your time. And that makes you panic even more. But, number 4, Rival Restaurant. Okay, so my number 3 is Queen Domino. Queen Domino I picked mostly because of math. Now, there's a little bit of a side effect of having Asperger's. It's called dyscalculia. It's like dyslexia, except with numbers. As I had mentioned when I was talking about my top 10 tile placement games, King Domino is not exactly my favorite game because math. And I talked to my friends from NV Board Gaming. Hello, Nick and Dick. Thank you for that lovely chat. I tried Queen Domino, by the way, guys. Loved it. I love Queen Domino far more better than King Domino. Yes, Queen Domino does have math, but I was so focused on more of the strategy of Queen Domino that I didn't even really care about the math. And to top it off, I actually managed to add up all my points by myself. I didn't need anybody to help me. I usually do need help to do math because the numbers get all jumbled up in my head. This one really helped me out very much. There was a little bit of stuff that we struggled here and there because it was a new game for us on how to score. But oh my gosh, Queen Domino, like by far my favorite one from Blue Orange Games versus King Domino. In fact, I love it so much now. I'm hoping to get get that expansion because I want to see what that adds to Queen Domino. So yeah, if you know someone who struggles with math, this is a good one, especially when it's like forming grids, in a 4x3, 3x3, something like that, and you got to add all the points. I went with something that went with a little more complex math, but not too complex. I wanted to have something with that middle ground. Not like 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 5. Most people, even if they have dyscalculia or Asperger's, whichever one you want to use for that terminology, most people can do basic math. It's when you go into multiplication and especially division. I struggle so much with division. I feel very comfortable admitting that. But Queen Domino, really good at helping out with math. Okay, so my number 2 is the game Sudoku. And Sudoku is, I picked it for puzzle solving. Now, granted, puzzle solving is something I excel at. However, I excel at that when it's just me. The puzzle that you're trying to solve is not just, you put a piece, try to connect that together. You're also trying to not get your piece off the board. I have eliminated myself from this game multiple times, and Jordan's laughed multiple times. Jordan has done the same thing, and I have laughed multiple times. That's always funny when somebody accidentally eliminates themselves from this game. It is pretty funny. We all have a good laugh at the end of it. We're not making fun of each other. I'm just kind of pointing that out. We're just all kind of, it's like that whole situation. One day you'll laugh about this. Well, that day is immediately because we love this game so much. And the hard part about that is puzzle solving can be struggling for people with Asperger's, specifically Aspergirls. Women with Asperger's. I'm really good at puzzles. I'm really good at figuring out puzzles. I enjoy it. I do puzzles for fun. In fact, I do a Rubik's Cube just for giggles, and, I finish it within like a couple minutes. Jordan, however, not so much. She struggles. She overthinking. What's the word we use in the board gaming community? Oh gosh, it's called something. There's a term we have for it. It slipped my mind. If you guys know what it's called, put it down in the comments below. I can't remember. I will, if I remember it, it'll come to me. But yeah, summer heat, it's getting to me. I'm not gonna lie, it's getting to me. Oh my gosh, I'm still thinking about it right now. Oh my gosh, and now I'm thinking of a school. Never mind. So that's it. Number 2, Sudoku. Okay, my number 1 game is Dominion, and that's because of flexible thinking and self-control. And like I mentioned, that's one of the things on that sheet of paper that I was thinking. I'm still thinking of that term. I'll get it. But Dominion is a deck-building game. In fact, it's one of the first deck-building games. It's at least one of the first deck-building games I got into. If there's an older one, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. But Dominion, to me, is like the oldest deck-building game ever created. The problem is, you want self-control because you want to buy this cool card that will, like, really help you in the game or really bust up your opponent, but you also need this other card even more. So, like, let's say we're almost out of moats. I never bought a moat. Everybody else bought moats, but I need one to protect myself from somebody attacking me. Well, but I have enough money where I can get like the fair or something like that. I kind of want that because it gives me a lot of bonuses. Well, I have to say no to that, and it's really hard for me to say no to that, or another militia card, because I buy those up like crazy. Analysis paralysis. That's what it's called. Analysis paralysis. Oh my gosh, finally. Yes. And this could also give you analysis paralysis, just like Suro, because you could overthink it a lot. And unfortunately, because you're focused on that one card, and then all of a sudden that card's sold out, now you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? My whole strategy is dead. It's gone. I might as well just put my deck aside, say I give up, and go watch cartoons until everybody else is done having fun. The flexible thinking, it allows you to go, no, wait, there's another card that can help protect me as well, but not as effective as the moat, so I'll go for that other card instead of the moat, and that way I'm okay, even if they get that moat. Then you get the moat later on, and you're good. So like, for example, there is a card in the Alchemy set called the Witch. I think it's in the Alchemy set. Either that or it's in the main set. But anyways, the Witch gives you a curse, which brings down your score, your final score. The moat will protect you from that if you have it in your hand. You just show it to people, and then that's it. You're protected. You're good. However, there is a chapel which allows you to trash a card, so then you can get rid of that curse. So what I like to do is I like to go for chapels just in case those moats start to get a little tasty for other people, and I'm just out of luck. That's my way. I definitely struggled with flexible thinking. In fact, here's an example. One of the games I used to play when I was a kid, just like every other kid from the 90s, is Yu-Gi-Oh! What I would do, I was bad at strategies. Okay? When I was a kid, I was pretty bad at strategies. Pokemon was pretty good for me because I didn't really need to think that much with strategy. But when I got into more strategy-based games where you had to think a little bit more, I'm not saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very strategy-heavy game, but there is a little bit of strategy you need. Mostly what I would do is I'd be like, well, I built my deck based off of the characters from the show, so I might as well do the strategies that the characters from the show did. So I would try to mimic their strategies, scene for scene, card for card. That really allowed people to win against me a lot because I was terrible. And once they stopped me from playing that card that I needed to do because that was the next step, once they stopped me from that, I froze like a deer in headlights. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't think of anything else. And that happened to me a lot with a lot of deck builders. So like mostly competitive deck builders, but I only play one, I believe. So, Fort sometimes, not anymore. But one of the ones that hit me a lot was Legendary, because I still had that function a lot. But Dominion really helps out with this, and it's also easy to learn, easy to teach, very simple game. Unfortunately, we're still working on trying to get a how to play video out on that. But that is my number one game for people with Aspergers Syndrome, Dominion. Well, there you go. That is my top 10 favorite games for people with the Aspergers Syndrome. Now, these games specifically aren't like, the only games that can help out with Asperger's. There is a multitude of board games that can help out with this condition. And most people, that's the thing. Asperger's stays with you for the rest of your life. The only thing you can do is just try to kind of contain it, try to control it. It's kind of like, in the X-Men, a mutation is something we have to live with. It's part of our lives. It's part of who we are. Having Asperger's is not a handicap for me. It's just something of who I am. It's part of my life, and it's helped me to relate to certain people in my life in a different point of view. And board gaming has helped me a lot with my Asperger's. And so if there's any games that you guys think can help out people with Asperger's that you know, or if there's anybody you know that could probably benefit from this list, please share it. Please share this list, and also just put down those games in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell to be notified for top 10 videos just like these. Be on the lookout for our next how to play gameplay, top 10, and sometimes unboxing videos. But until then, thanks for the views.